Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Capital Carnage. I am Ken Carnage, and we are continuing our march. We are now over halfway through the Bill of Rights, and today we will be focusing in on the Sixth Amendment, another one that you don't hear about all that often in everyday American life, but one that is very, very important. The Sixth Amendment says, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory processes for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So, this amendment deals entirely with how a criminal prosecution is meant to happen in our country. The first line here is, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. So you can't. The whole point of this is you can't hold somebody in jail forever, putting off their trial. Okay. Somebody's been arrested. They're being held for trial. You can't keep them in there, for years while they're waiting for their trial. It has to be done quickly. But it also has to be done publicly. It needs to be done publicly, mostly so that it's got a better chance of being fair. You don't want the judge to just walk into the jail cell and be like, guilty, shoot him. That's the kind of thing you want going on. So, and first line is very important. Probably the biggest part of this that people would actually know. The next part is, by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. Now you hear people say a lot, jury of your peers, jury of your peers. And the problem with that saying is it opens up an argument. For instance, somebody who lives in Detroit, we'll say, can go to, let's say they go to Bangkok, Maine. Bangkok, Maine. Wow. I should have had another cup of coffee. Excuse me. Portland, Maine. So let's go say they go up to Portland, Maine. Where the hell did that come from? Somebody from Detroit goes up to Maine, anywhere in Maine, and they commit a crime. If that person in Detroit, they could try and make the argument of, well, I'm from Detroit, these people aren't my peers. I mean, you could try and make that claim, but it doesn't actually work because the Constitution doesn't say jury of your peers. The Constitution says, by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. So that means your jury for this crime would be from Maine. And they would be people who don't have any relationship to the accused or to the victim. Well, and that's all. That's all being. That is the criteria for being impartial. So, by an impartial jury of the state and district. So wherever you commit the crime, that's where the jury is going to be from. Which district shall have been previously ascertained by law. So, how do you know what district you're in? Well, the law has records of these things, is essentially what they're saying. And to be informed of the nature and case of the accusation. So this is talking about how the person being accused of a crime has the right to know what they're being accused of. You don't get to just arrest somebody and not tell them why you're arresting them. You're not allowed to do that. That's against the law. That's against the Constitution. That is constitutionally, it's a constitutional violation of your rights. To be confronted with the witnesses against him. So this is essentially talking about how in a trial, witnesses have to be called so that it can be proven. And the accused gets to be there. The witness doesn't get to make their testimony anonymously, privately, behind closed doors. The person they're accusing gets to sit in the same room with them and hear what they are saying. To have compulsory processes for obtaining witnesses in his favor. Now, this would normally be done by the legal counsel, but the accused and their legal counsel have a right to call witnesses as well in their defense. And that's all that is saying. And to have the assistance for counsel for his defense. Now, again, this goes back to, I believe it's in the Miranda rights, if I'm not mistaken. It talks about how you have the right to attorney. If you cannot afford attorney, one will be provided for you. That's because it's a constitutional right to have the help of an attorney if you are in legal trouble. And if you can't, and even if you can't afford one, it is still your right to have one. So, one of the few cases where you are actually entitled to get something for free if you don't have the money. But bear in mind, it won't necessarily be free if you're awarded any money. But normally, cases where it's money changing hands, normally those cases are not having to do with criminal trials. It's normally more of the civil suits, and it's very different. So long and short of it, the Sixth Amendment talks about your right to trial by jury, your right to legal counsel, and your right to know why you're being arrested. If you've been watching all of these, you're beginning to see a theme in the Bill of Rights, in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The whole idea here, essentially, is personal protection of rights. You being able... Bangor! That's what I was trying to say, was Bangor, Maine. Sorry. So, that being said, that being said, it may not be an amendment that everybody knows about, but it is one that's very important. And I don't see evidence of this being infringed upon on a large scale. The closest thing I could say would be what we have going on these days, mostly with the quote-unquote court of public opinion, where they will accuse you of a crime, but never actually bring any charges against you, because they know they don't have evidence to actually convict you. So what they'll do is they'll accuse you and let the rabid media, go after you and tear apart your character, because technically there's nothing illegal there, is there? So, with accusations, there's the possibility for, a civil suit for defamation of character, but again, it's not a criminal proceeding. So that was very muddy. I don't personally... I think the court of public opinion is very flawed. And actually, I don't even think it's a thing, because when you think about it, when you talk about the court of public opinion, you're actually talking about the media. uh, and you're just assuming that everybody will believe the media, and that more and more as we go on is becoming less and less of the case. Um, you know, the big, what, the big 3 or 4 news stations. What are those? CNN, Fox, MSNBC, CBS. Um, I don't actually know of anybody who trusts those anymore. I mean, they might watch them. They might look to see what's being said, but they don't blindly trust it. Which is good because technically you shouldn't blindly trust anything. If you can't verify it for yourself, you should at least be applying a logical thought process and trying to pick it apart and look for inconsistencies in what you've been told. Because if you're just willing to believe it because they said it, the chances of you being misinformed are huge. They're absolutely huge. I sit here and I'm doing breakdowns of the amendments, but I'm not asking you to take my word for it. By all means, look them up, read them yourselves. If you think that my analysis of the amendments are wrong, feel free to come back into the comment section and talk to me about it. I like to have a dialogue. I like to have a conversation, especially with people who don't agree with me, because inside an echo chamber, nothing will get, very little will get done in the way of overall progress or overall tranquility among the people. You don't want to just be listening to people who agree with you. You have to talk to the people who don't. You have to talk to the people who don't agree with you. See if you can find out why, and you have to do it civilly. Okay, don't wear your black mask and bring your bear spray and yell and scream. It's good that you left mommy's basement, but you can do something better with your time than cause havoc. Talk to people. Don't just scream at people. Talk to them. Because you never know. When you actually talk to someone, you may not agree with 99% of what they say, but they may have that 1% that makes you go, well, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't hate that. And from there you can build. The idea of understanding not just what the opposition believes, but why they believe it is important. Because if you can take it and break it down from a place of logic, without an overabundance of emotion applied, if you can break it down from a place of logic, then it's sound. But if it's all emotional based, it's like building the foundation of a house on sand. It will erode. It will collapse. And if you're inside, it'll kill you. But I think that's enough. I think that's enough from me for today. I appreciate you guys coming by to check out the breakdown for the 6th Amendment. I am looking forward to the 7th Amendment. And I will be seeing you guys next week. Always remember that until next time, sic semper tyrannis.